Well, tonight a few excerpts from a keynote address that Bill Moyers gave at the National Conference for Media Reform. Basically, this article was just published on several websites, and some excerpts are worth mentioning from that keynote speech regarding the state of our national media. Our media institutions, deeply embedded in the power structure of society, are not providing the information we need to make our democracy work. To put it another way, corporate media consolidation is a corrosive force, a corrosive social force. It robs people of their voice in public affairs and pollutes the political culture. And it turns the debates about profound issues into a shouting match of polarized views promulgated by partisan apologists who trivialize democracy while refusing to speak the truth about how our country is being plundered. Our dominant media are ultimately accountable only to corporate boards whose mission is not life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of the whole body of our republic, but the aggrandizement of corporate executives and their shareholders. These organizations' self-styled mandate is not to hold a public and private power accountable, but to aggregate their interlocking interests. Their reward is not to help fulfill the social compact embodied in the notion of we the people, but to manufacture news and information as profitable consumer commodities. Democracy without honest information creates the illusion of popular consent at the same time that it enhances the power of the state and the privileged interests that the state protects. And nothing characterizes corporate media today more than its disdain towards the fragile nature of modern life and its indifferences towards the complex social debate required for a free and self-governing people. Let's look at what's happening with the internet. This spring, the cable giant Comcast tried to pack a federal communications hearing on network neutrality by hiring strangers off the street to ensure that advocates of net neutrality would not be able to get a seat in the hearing room. SaveTheInternet.com, a bipartisan coalition, and its supporters helped expose this ruse. Soon after, there was a new hearing, this time without gerrymandering, seating by opponents of an open internet. We must be vigilant. The fate of the cyber commons, the future of the mobile web, and the benefits of the internet as open architecture is up for grabs. And the only antidote to the power of organized money in Washington is the power of organized people at the net roots. Whenever the internet flows on PCs, cell phones, mobile devices, and very soon new digital television sets, we must ensure that it remains an open and non-discriminatory medium of expression. By 2011, the market analysts tell us the internet will surpass newspapers in advertising revenues. MySpace and Dow Jones, controlled by News Corporation's Rupert Murdoch, Microsoft determined to acquire Yahoo, and with advertisers already telling some bloggers your content is unacceptable, we could potentially lose what's now considered to be an unstoppable long tail of content offering abundant, new and credible and sustainable sources of news and information. So what will happen to news in the future as the already tattered boundaries between journalism and advertising is dispensed with entirely, and as content programming, commerce, and online communities are rolled into one profitable, attractive package? Across the media landscape, the health of our democracy is imperiled. Buffered by gale force winds of technological, political, and demographic forces, without a truly free and independent press, this 250-year-old experiment in self-government will not make it. As journalism goes, so does democracy. Mergers and buyouts change both old and new media. They bring a frenzied focus on cost-cutting while fattening the pockets of the new owners and their investors. The result? Journalism is degraded through the layoffs and buyouts of legions of reporters and editors. The Los Angeles Times alone has experienced a withering series of resignations by editors and reporters who refuse to turn a red pencil into an editorial scalpel. The new owner of the Tribune Company, real estate mogul Sam Zell, recently toured his new property in Los Angeles. He told his journalists that he didn't have an editorial agenda and or any kind of perspective about the newspaper's roles as civic institutions. "I'm a businessman," he said. "All that matters in the end is the bottom line." Zell then told Wall Street analysts that to save money, he intends to eliminate 500 pages of news a week across all of the Tribune's company's 12 papers. And as reporters at Knight Ridder, one of the few organizations that systemically and independently set out to challenge the claims of this administration, told us at the time, and as Moyer's colleagues reported in his PBS documentary, Buying the War, and as Scott McClown has now confessed, and as the Senate Intelligence Committee confirmed in June, the Bush administration deceived Americans into supporting an unprovoked war on another country, and it did so using erroneous and misleading intelligence, and with the complicity of the dominant media. We now know that a neoconservative is an arsonist who sets a house on fire and 6 years later boasts that no one can put it out. You couldn't find a more revealing measure of the state of the dominant media today than the continuing ubiquitous presence on the air and in print of the very pundits and experts, self-selected message multipliers of a disastrous foreign policy who got it all wrong in the first place. And it only continues. It's kind of a long article, very interesting. I'll try to put a link up to it in my video. Thanks for listening.